Hey, it's Tia Carrere, and you're listening to Kino Kingdom with Britt
and Laszlo
and Rupert. Party on, guys.
Hello all and welcome to Kino Kingdom 122. Apologies for the little break. We had things going on in the background, but it's all groovy now. I suppose it's best to jump straight back into it and mention that I've been watching The Mentalist, the TV series from 2008 starring Simon Baker. It's kind of a spin-off really from my love of like Agatha Christie stuff. It's so formulaic, but I don't want to talk about it. It's almost like my comfort TV. If I can't think of anything to watch, I'll just watch a couple of episodes of it. They wrap up succinctly, and they also like it'll be dealing with something really horrible like sort of sexual child abuse and treat it with like a bizarrely sort of light touch, and it's just like this it's like not treating its subject matter seriously at all, but hey ho. Anyway, the other day I was watching an episode.
Is it like all the crimes are kind of treated with in the same way sort of thing?
Yeah, like they approach, and if it's like someone's murdered his wife, yeah, and everyone just the same way, like they'll turn up and it's like someone will be like obviously molesting like a teenager that's driven her to kill herself, and they're all still like jibing and keeping their characters going like, oh, she fancies me, but she doesn't know he likes her, and it's like, I think this might be totally uneven. But there's a scene in it where they go to visit this girl, this like really sort of devout religious girl has killed herself, and she's like supposed to be 16 or 17, and they turn up at the house, and the father's there, he's clearly on the booze, and he's got 2 kids. Bear in mind, this was set and filmed in 2008, and one of the kids, like his like sort of 10-year-old son, is sitting there playing a Game Boy from 1989, and I was like, why has he got a Game Boy in 2008? And the scene sort of finished, and I thought, I bet there was they kind of they interview the dad about the daughter's death, and then they leave, and the scene cuts to the police station. I thought, I know there was a deleted scene there where the father says bye, 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 and shuts the door, and then the son says, Dad, what's a PS3? But obviously that didn't make the final cut.
Or even, what's a Game Boy Advance? Or a Game Boy Color?
Yeah, Dad, what's a Neo Geo Pocket Color? What's an R-Zone? You get to bed. There's a few things I want to talk about. Like I know we've got a lot of films to get in, but there's a few, I just want to get some things out of the way. Listeners from the last episode will remember we were briefly talking about, Rupert covered both Moonwalker and the new film Michael. Mm-hmm. And during this sort of episode, we discussed that none of us had ever seen a Michael Jackson live concert. Did either of you take it off your backs to go on YouTube and watch one, or was it just me?
I checked them out. Basically, there was one from 1988. I think it was the London one, which is amazing. But then there was the one also from 1997, and it's like, he's starting to look a bit like Sandra Bullock now, isn't he?
I believe
he's not quite.
That's the one I watched.
Yeah, he hasn't quite got the kind of slickness in the moves anymore.
Yeah, and also his dancing is actually really repetitive as well, because he's like really repetitive dancing. But the biggest, not really a problem, because I'm not a massive listener of like pop music, and I wouldn't go to a concert like that. Although I did go to see Spice Girls, and it was fantastic. But my point is, he was miming, right? There were some songs he sang live, and there were some songs he was miming, and there was one where it wasn't even disguised, because he's on stage and he's singing. It's like a really like turgid ballad, and there's a woman from the audience, like a total burner who's like 19, 20, like gets on stage past security. It's clearly a plant, gets on stage and hugs him, and she's screaming at him, I love you, and hugging him and kissing him and like sort of pulling him round. And he still, the vocals are perfect, and she's singing into his microphone on his face, and it's not picking up anything she's saying. And I thought, that is miming. That is not a live performance, I'm afraid. And it just really tickled me. But yeah, I think Michael Jackson's a song man for me. It's not an album man. No. So I think I'll go back to never watching him ever again and liking about 6 of his songs.
Yes, that's fair.
It's with his repetitive dance moves. He's basically grabbing his crotch a lot, isn't he? Which is,
at least it's his crotch he's grabbing, David.
Yeah,
Laszlo.
Better his than someone else's, I suppose. But
yeah,
it's not a signature move for someone who with a reputation.
I've said it before, though. I've said it before. He has this, the crotch grabbing thing is like quite signature for him, and yet he's a weirdly sexless entity, isn't he? And I suppose knowing about his strange home life only adds to that. But even on stage, like, you don't really believe he's a sexual creature somehow. It's sort of just, I guess it's just for show, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't imagine him like walking into a room with a woman in there like on a bed in negligee and him holding 2 glasses of champagne and then saying, "Right then, get him down." It can't imagine him doing that.
No, not like a real man.
Yeah, well, if he's a real man, he'd have 2 cans of Foster's Ice. She'd say, "How did you get hold of those? They were discontinued in the early 2000s." He's like, "Don't you? I've got my wave.
I saved them for this moment."
2 bottles of Foster's.
They've been maturing in the cellar.
we should save them. And he's like, don't worry, babe, because I got 2 crates of Carlin C2 in the shed. So and we can go through both crates of those, and the best part is I'll still be able to drive to get more.
I've just got this vision of his underground like wine cellar, and it's just bottles of WKD of different colours.
And the Rancher Boom limited edition, like really bad luck.
That'd be the real Neverland, wouldn't it? Never go down there. Certainly never drink anything.
Oh my God. Right then. And the other thing I want to talk about is, I was talking to my brother Transvaal. I do it occasionally. And he was, we went on a golf trip, and he was talking about Bond films because he really likes Bond. And he said, I think he said his favorite Bond film was Casino Royale. And I agreed with him. I said, there's obviously there's a tranche of Bond films I haven't seen, but that would be my go-to if someone asked me. And he said, Martin Campbell, the director of that film, he said, I've been trying to work out how he got Bond. And I said, what do you mean? I know nothing about this man. And he said, look up his filmography. And basically, it's just like bawdy cock films, and then Bond, and then more cock films after it. And I'm like, what?
But it is weird the way he kind of rebooted Bond twice, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because he's made some complete shash. Like, the quality of his films is wildly varying, and yet he sort of really brought his A game for 2 Bond films. And more or less nothing else.
Well, yeah, that was what my brother was saying. He said it's really bizarre because you look at it, right? It's like Sex Thief, 3 for All, Eskimo Nell, Intimate Games, all just cocky. So just total nonsense in the 70s. And then you got No Escape, which was looking.
Mask of Zorro is meant to be good, isn't it? I haven't seen it, but
that's true. That's true. Yeah,
but that's after Bond.
Oh, okay.
So you got New Criminal Law in '88, which looks like a legal thriller. I have to watch that. I like legal thrillers. Defenseless, No Escape, which has got Kevin Dillon in it. And then Goldeneye. It's like, how have they watched those films and think, yes, this is our man for this like beloved British franchise? And then your Mask of Zorro, Vertical Limit, which Mask is okay. Vertical Limit looks a bit straight to DVD.
It's
and then
pretty ropey. Rip off
and then Casino Royale. Yeah. And then after that, Green Lantern, The Foreigner, which is my friend's dad used to watch once a week at one point. Once a week. So, and then, it's just different bits and pieces. It's just a bizarre...
He did that one with Daisy Ridley as a window cleaning ex-CIA person or something, and she spent half the film stuck outside the windows.
Oh my God.
It was so exciting.
Stuck outside the window or outside the Linux?
Wow.
Hello, guys. Oh, they've gone. So there was, just wondered if you found that as bizarre as I did. And the last thing I want to say before we go into the films is, apart from obviously welcome back everyone, I was in this, and I do apologize to our American listeners for this one. You might have to do a bit of Googling for this story, but it's something that happened. Oh yeah, my band Recluse is releasing an album called Atrocity Parade this Friday. In Porters in Cardiff. If anyone listens to this who isn't in New York, feel free to swing by or have a listen online. Recluse Atrocity Parade. But anyway, I was in rehearsals for this a couple of weeks ago, and the drummer, there's 3 of us, and the drummer said something about, between songs, he started talking about nature and birds, and the bassist said, "Oh, calm down, Bill Oddie." And I said, "Yeah, wind it in, Terry Nutkins." And the drummer turned around and said, who's Terry Nutcase? And like knowing what Terry Nutkins looks like, the sort of gentle, genial giant that he is, and like talking, with his like animal facts and stuff. I just had this image in the 70s and 80s of like Blue Peter saying, "Okay, children, and now we're going to go to the animal sanctuary with Terry Nutcase." And then it would hard cut to him and he would be smeared in feces, like screaming at the moon, just completely like beyond sanity, like wild screaming at the camera. And after 15 seconds, it would cut back to the studio and like Andy Peters would say, "And we'll catch up with Terry Nutcase again next week." So it just really.
The thing is, if you know what Terry Nutcase' face looks like, it's like the friendliest face as well.
Yeah, he passed away in 2012, sadly. But yeah, he's got like some weird scraggly skullet. But he was a sort of soft-spoken, "Oh, hello," blah, blah, blah. Just like a lovely bloke talking about nature and animals. Terry
He did
Nutcase.
piss off that squirrel or whatever it was, didn't he? That bit the top off his finger.
Oh right.
My dad mentioned something about like having a full finger. I said I've never noticed that. I noticed Dave Allen.
He's got too close to some rodent that bit the top off his finger.
I made a Dave Allen reference in work the other day, and someone asked me how old I was. Sat in a slightly high chair and said, "I feel like Dave Allen. How old are you?" And I thought they meant like, "Are you childish?" And I thought, no, yes, that is a reference beyond my years, but what can you do about it? So. With that, and obviously the episodes are now going to be called Terry Nutcase, I've decided. Let's go into this. So yeah, just to give a little run through of what people got coming up, we're going to do the Arkansas, which is the Mass Chris. So I had quite a few entries for this, which was, if you remember from the last episode, how many consecutive Chris's you can get in films. We're only using one other actor as a stopgap between the Chris's. Max Hilarity has sent in I'll call it a joke. I'll say joke. That seems fine. And obviously if you want to get in contact with us, it's kinokingdom@protonmail.com. And with that said, which one of you lovely gentlemen want to do the first review?
I suspect Laszlo has about 400 in his backlog.
Do we have any screeners we're supposed to do?
No.
I did have one, but I missed the window and the link was now dead.
Oh dear.
I was heartbroken.
Didn't watch it. Okay.
People are going to think we're unprofessional, and that is not something I want people to think about us. Okay, so
we definitely don't sit there when you send us a review link and just procrastinate and go, "Oh God, not tonight." every night until the link dies.
And after our wives have said that to us, then we don't watch the film as well. We need to. So let me just close my Martin Campbell
if they started
screen.
sending us computer chess and Starship 76, it'd be a different story, wouldn't it?
Or even Space Station 76.
Even that, yeah. They need to do a sequel, though, don't they?
I'd watch that.
Oh my God! Imagine if they did like it was literally called Starship 78 or something.
Why don't you just make one yourself with AI? That'd be just as good, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
won't it?
Because the thing about AI, the best thing about AI is it's really creative. It's got a good sense of humor, so really grasps irony.
AI is one of those words as well that it actually, like saying it, sums up my feelings about it because it's
In French, it's IA, like it's IA instead of AI. I learned this the other day.
It sounds like someone recoiling from it, doesn't it?
Or someone making a racist sound as they do a karate kick. I'll edit that out.
I'm sure one of our episodes was called Racist Sounds.
Yes. It was one of the funniest things you've ever said. Oh, hang on. The only funny thing you've ever said, now that I think about it.
Okay, should I say it again?
Nah.
To be funny again?
I'll just edit it out, mate. So come on then, lads. I'm excited. Talk about Lemon Popsicle.
I've got 12 films. I actually stopped watching films because I was afraid that I was going to forget what I've watched because it's so old. Some of these were new when I watched them and they're now old. That's how long it's been. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Eddington, which is directed by Ari Aster. It came out in 2025. Have either of you watched this one?
No, I haven't brought myself to do it yet.
I've wanted to watch it, very much so.
Okay, well, let's see if this persuades you. So it's starring Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, and Emma Stone. And the story focuses on a small-town sheriff played by Phoenix as he rails against Pedro Pascal's town mayor and many, many other things in this town, such as COVID protocols. It's set during COVID, jurisdictional issues, Native Americans, Black Lives Matter demonstrators, his wife, his mother-in-law, and then in the end he ends up clashing against shady militant mercenaries. To say that the film tackles a lot of subjects is probably an understatement. And the first half feels like it could be based on a true story. It's quite different from the second half and presents a picture of America that feels very, I say very exaggerated, but believable, and it's darkly humorous and pretty bleak, where the older people in the town are presented as ignorant and stuck in their ways, and then the young people view the world skewed entirely through the lens of social media.
I sense there may be some political allegory going on here.
Yes, you're astute observation. And the conflicting ideologies and warped sense of what's right and wrong kind of fuels this whole thing, and racial division, and and then the COVID lockdown brings it all to a head. So it really brings out the worst of everyone in this town. So the first half is quite leisurely and quite meandering, I would say, as Phoenix and Pascal kind of butt heads and circle each other, but you get a sense that there's escalation as they're both trying to get elected the next mayor. And then there's a turning point at about halfway, and then the second half shift gears into a kind of a Coen Brothers-esque incompetent crime thriller story. And then it builds and builds into a full-on action thriller, where there's this enormous shootout at the end that was really tense, and I found I was genuinely holding my breath for moments where the violence was so sort of shocking and sudden and unpredictable. So by the end of it, I was really on the ride, and I really enjoyed it overall. But on reflection, I think I wish it had been one or the other thing a little bit more. It does feel overloaded, and each half, because they're so different, kind of do a disservice to the other half. So there's like the second half is more fun, and but it hasn't got the same thematic steam. It kind of runs out of meaningful things to say about anything. And then the first half is a bit slow, but it's more topical and scathing and cynical. So yeah, it reminded me of One Battle After Another quite a bit, which I also liked. So they're both long, lavishly staged, exaggerated but believable views of America, and they feel very authored by the writer-directors behind them both. So
if you original films have probably flopped at the box office.
Oh yes, overly expensive flops that I think people will come to discover more, in over time probably. So yeah, it's pretty much on a par with One Battle After Another.
Do you think there's some logic behind this? Because it does seem like there are a few of these like high-ish budget auteur movies flying around, and it seems to me that there's no way any studio could think this is going to have a successful like cinema run, right? Like something like this. I wonder if are they looking to kind of streaming in the long term? I don't know.
I think that Hollywood is we're in a slightly experimental stage in terms of like the impact that streaming's having on cinema, obviously, but then also sort of the end of Hollywood superstars and a steer towards directors being the stars that put bums in seats. And obviously there's people like Christopher Nolan are leading the way on that sort of thing, where it doesn't really, he can make a 3-hour long film about the guy who made the nuclear bomb and it will be a smash hit because he made it.
And I suppose the Emma Stone thing with Yorgos Lanthimos, of course, who's got like quite a crowd behind him. They'll watch anything he makes, I suppose.
Yeah. And Denis Villeneuve is getting up there. I'm not sure his name is quite as sort of big as, say, Christopher Nolan, but
no.
He's able to, they'll throw huge budgets at him to make his stuff and just trust him and give him the cut, and they don't mind if they're really long and that kind of thing. And
well, I'm glad
not
they're doing
particularly
it.
mainstream.
I'm just wondering it's going to come crashing down. That's all.
Yeah.
Just feel a bit like Heaven's Gate all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, getting behind like Ari Aster, and what's the other guy who they're throwing money at as well, who's come from horror? Oh my
Zach
goodness,
Kreger's?
Well, he's the new one.
kid on
There's
the block.
another guy who, the guy who did Nosferatu, I guess, is another example.
Oh yeah, what's his face? Robert thingy.
Robert Eggers.
Yeah.
So just bold, decidedly unmainstream films that they give lots of money to, and they hit, so there is logic there, but they can't make too many of these very expensive films that underperform financially, even if they are good, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I wonder if there is some safety net in the fact that it can live on streaming. But I don't know what the business model's like really, because it's not like selling units of a VHS tape.
Yeah. And this wasn't like made by Netflix to be on Netflix or Apple TV to be on Apple. This is just it's wound up on Now TV. I watched it on.
It's yeah, I suppose.
Well, so it's just been sold to whoever bought it, basically. So yeah, interesting model. Yeah, I feel like they should probably just go right. None of these films that are risky, personal kind of ventures should cost more than $100 million. That's plenty of money for a film like this. You don't need whatever the 200 or something it cost, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, but it is good though. Sorry, as the film itself.
Yeah, it is a bit long. It's definitely a bit like trying to do too much, but it's quite a ride. I did enjoy it. So you're going to watch it, Britt?
Yeah, I think I will. I think I've got a few films. How long is this? I've got a few films I want to watch that are like
2.5.
Yeah, above the 2 hour mark, and my time is quite precious at the moment. So I'm wondering.
You could watch it in two halves, because there is a key point, a turning point in the middle of this. If you watch it, you'll know it. You could just then pause it there and then carry on the next day.
Oh, okay. I suppose that could be good, because I dislike doing that normally. But if this film is sort of designed for it, then that's quite handy for me, really.
Yeah, they could have they could have stuck a not transmission. What's it called? Intermission in the middle.
Yeah,
they should do that anyway.
You definitely wet my whistle for it. Rupert, are you going to do it?
I'm going to do it to you. Toy Story 5 is out in cinemas now, and I've seen it. A new film at the cinema. And this is the latest surplus to requirement sequel in the ongoing Toy Story saga. Another great trilogy, artificially extended with diminishing returns. In this film, 8-year-old Bonnie, she loves her toys, but she's struggling to make friends. So her parents get her a tablet called a lily pad to connect with the girls at school. The lily pad turns her into an introverted zombie who's desperate to fit in at the cost of her personality. And from the toys' perspective, the story focuses on Jessie, the cowgirl. And Jessie's desperate to help Bonnie make friends. And through a series of convoluted plot points, Jessie ends up at the house she used to live in when she was originally abandoned, which is now the home of Blaze, a different girl who she thinks could be a good friend for Bonnie. So now we have this 3 levels of kids thing where you have Bonnie, Blaze, and the original kid, Emily. Meanwhile, Buzz and the toys from Bonnie's house are trying to rescue Jessie. Woody shows up to help them, although his presence in the film is entirely superfluous as far as I can see. And it's a very muddled script, and I found it honestly quite difficult to follow. I suppose it's kind of, if you remember, there was a song, Jessie's song from Toy Story 2, which kind of encapsulated her backstory just in 3 minutes, but they decided to extend it basically to a whole film. Now, other Toy Story films would have like one soppy backstory moment, but this one is like the 12-inch extended mix of that one sentimental song. Joan Cusack plays Jessie. She's always sounded mature, but she's really lacking energy now. She just sounds old, to be honest. Doesn't quite suit the energy of the character.
60-something, isn't she? I guess.
Yeah, well, she's probably, I think she's the youngest of like the main three, but yeah, she just sounded a bit kind of like wizened. Pointless subplots and character beats. Like, again, why is Woody even in this movie? There is a whole subplot involving an army of Buzz Lightyears, which it keeps cutting back to, but is entirely irrelevant until the final scene. And that whole subplot isn't funny, and it could just easily been removed. Meanwhile, 90% of the original toys are literally packed away in a box for the whole film. And then you got this central premise of like modern technology versus classic toys. And obviously, inevitably, that premise makes for a somewhat hectoring tone, I would say. I mean, Toy Story movies always had a message, and this one is about the dangers of permitting screen time over imaginative play. But the message here is very obviously aimed at parents. I mean, they're not even attempting to make a kids' film anymore. And it definitely falls into the modern Pixar problem of focusing heavily on a very troubled, depressed child. See also Inside Out, Hoppers, Elio, etc. Now, my son, who I watched it with, claimed to love it afterwards. But I'd say actual observations from the cinema were that kids were losing interest after about 45 minutes, I'd say. A lot of them were running around, wailing, wanting to leave. This was not the experience I had when watching, for example, SpongeBob.
Yeah, but you did set the fire, didn't you, though?
Yeah, that's true, actually. I just scream, I've got a gun. Yeah. SpongeBob, Mario, Bad Guys 2, none of them had the same issue of kids' attention. So, Toy Story 5, not really any better than 4, which was bad, and even less clear about his purpose for existence. And it still has that hyper-realistic aesthetic that looks too grimy and dark to suit the tone. So just climb onto that. Yeah, I wouldn't bother, even if you do have kids.
It's a bit rich for a film to be preaching about too much screen time, isn't it, to kids?
I know. Yes, the irony of that was not lost. But exactly, because literally the reason you come to the cinema with a 5-year-old is to just hopefully grab their attention for 2 hours. But
yeah. So the kids who were running around playing had the right idea, really.
Really, yeah.
It encouraged them in a way by being boring. It's quite meta.
It was a joyless experience, I'd say.
That doesn't sound very fun.
No. And it's because if you like a really good or a really well judged like kids film, watching it with your child at the cinema is quite delightful because they can be very entranced and really enthused by it. But something like this where it's just like there's sort of a sense of, I suppose it's the child's equivalent of indifference, I suppose, where they're just like, they could honestly just be doing something else at that point. If you said, oh, should we go? They'd probably just go. So that's the sense I got from the film. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they all loved it, truly.
I'm not sure I've ever really cared about Toy Story. Is Tom Hanks the main character or not then in this one?
Yes, for the most part. Yes. Okay. Well, certainly for the trilogy, which is when it should have stopped.
In fact, you could say that the third one was almost like Last Crusade, like a perfect ending.
Yeah,
and then it just carried on for 2 more. I have no interest in watching. 2 isn't particularly good. Like 1, you could just watch 1 and 3 and be done.
Yes, I
Much
totally
like
agree.
Indiana Jones, where you can skip Temple of Doom because it's the worst film.
And just skip to the end, number 3.
Riding off into the sunset. What's up, Brit?
Well, I'm just going to do a little, a quick. I've got a few to get through, so I'm going to do a squeeze out a quick 2-minute. It was. I watched this on Amazon Prime. Obviously, it's a 1972 horror film made for TV, starring Ben Gazzara, Elizabeth Ashley, and Michael Douglas. It's called When Michael Calls, and it's about a woman. Elizabeth Ashley is a woman called Helen Connolly who lives. She's estranged from Ben Gazzara, who's got this bizarre. He's called Doremus. And Doremus, and everyone's like, oh, Doremus. And I thought, am I hearing this wrong? And I had to put the subtitles on. I thought, no, it is Doremus, a word I've never heard before. And I wondered if it was, it was going to be like he was the killer and his name is a clue. Remember that awful, awful, awful film with Daniel Craig in it? And his name is like I don't want to spoil it because it is. But what made that film? I think I've talked about it before in the podcast. What made that Daniel Craig film even funnier is that he pronounces his own name differently throughout the film, and it's an awkward name, and it's like he couldn't quite get his tongue around it. So it kind of there's a reveal, you're like, oh, you kind of threw me off because you were pissing around with your own name. Most people, regardless of amnesia, can say their name.
Is that the one where his name is like Satan backwards or something? Or was it the one where it refers to a dream or something?
Okay, fast forward 30 seconds, guys, if you don't want to know the spoiler, but I can't remember what the film was called, but his name is like Will Atenton, and at different points in the film he says, oh, my name is Will Attenton or Will Attenton or Will Atenton, and he keeps saying it differently, and I thought, why are you saying your own name differently? But it's not that. Doremus is just a bizarre name in this film, Ben Gazzara. It's nice to see him in something other than Roadhouse, to be honest. But yeah, so this is a TV film from 1972. So again, spool on a few minutes if you don't want to have a spoiler. But the sort of plot is that this Helen Connolly has got she's estranged from Ben Gazzara, her husband, the wonderfully named Doremus, and she starts getting phone calls supposedly from her nephew called Michael, who died 15 years earlier. And people start getting killed, and Michael Douglas plays her brother, who is sort of trying to get to the bottom of it. He's a psychiatrist, and it's all sort of set in the house and in this sort of psychiatric hospital that Michael Douglas works in. And Ben Gazzara sort of comes back in to sort of protect Helen Connolly from these attacks, and they start seeing glimpses of children outside when these people are dying and things are set on fire and stuff. And the explanation of the plot is quite bewildering because I was watching it thinking, how are they going to explain this? How? And when they do, I thought, right, okay. And it's definitely worth a watch. But if you want to know who the killer is in this film, When Michael Calls, I can spoil it for you by saying a single word and adding it to the title. And that word is Douglas.
I was going to ask.
Yes, if it was called When Michael Douglas Calls, it would give away the title. But yeah, it's bad. It's one of those films that's so it's kind of boring and grubby and really, really poor quality visually as well. But when the explanations start coming out, you think, hang on now. And it's just ridiculously funny. And it's only 73 minutes long as well. So it's definitely worth a goosey. With that in mind, because I did such a brief one, can I squeeze in another 2-minute?
Go for it.
Go on. I watched Duel again, the Steven Spielberg's first film. And I'm assuming you've both seen this multiple times.
Yes.
I have.
Yeah, good. I really like it. I've always liked this film. So I'll do this really quickly. Dennis Weaver is in this film because they obviously couldn't get hold of Burt Reynolds. And it's just, it starts off with him saying goodbye to his family, and he's going on a business trip, and he gets hassled by a truck. And that's it. I guess it's the sort of birth of things like Roadkill and, there's a lovely French film as well, I've forgotten. There's Joyride, which I think is Roadkill's alternative name. And there's another one I really like called, not Wrong Turn, Dead End, I think it's called, which is like a sort of a sci-fi horror. Anyway, I kind of like these road movies, and my point is, I didn't want to talk about the film, because if people want to watch it, they should. It's on Amazon Prime. And it's just a great film. But I just wondered, what do you think are the best TV movies? Because this was a TV film from 1971, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. And the version I watched, the one that's Amazon Prime, apparently they went back for a theatrical release. They had to get 16 minutes of extra footage to make it 90 minutes, and it's just superfluous stuff. Like he calls his wife at one point. You see him leaving his house. He stops for food. But I think I'd rather watch the original 74-minute broadcast of it, because apparently it literally starts with just him on the road, and it's purely down to the bone. It's just what happens. And that I find that really, really appealing, the thought of that cut of it. So I think I'm going to try and get hold of the original cut and watch that, because I think it will be better.
Interesting. I didn't know there were two different length versions, like the original TV one and then the cinema one.
I've got a feeling
it's pretty pacey. Like, yeah. I mean, I appreciate there are bits where it lulls, but they're like tension building scenes.
Yeah, well, it's bits that are. I remember thinking, I don't remember this, and I wonder if when I was a kid watching it, which would have been what, between like 95 and 98, if the version I watched was the like TV version that we had on DVD or something, because there were things in this film I thought, I don't remember this bit, and it adds nothing to it. And when you realise there's that sort of the bone deep cut, it's all the more appealing, because it just completely cuts out anything extraneous. So definitely one for people to watch again.
Threads is a TV movie.
I'm never watching that, Rupert. Never watching that.
I'm curious now. Yeah, it's not good, but you reminded me of it earlier on for some reason. I remember watching Legal Eagles many times as a child, and that was a TV film with like an A-list cast, weirdly.
And it wasn't very good.
Well, I remember it being quite good, but on reflection, I'm quite sure it's not. But yeah, best TV movies ever made. That is interesting. There's probably some like Duel that have come out in the cinema that were originally intended for TV release. But,
and I suppose it becomes a bit. You would talk about a certain era, aren't we? Because there's a lot of very good movies that come straight to streaming now, so they kind of skip the cinema. So there's that. But I know what you mean. But while you're talking about Duel, should take the opportunity to recommend the Sugarland Express as well, which I think is the film Spielberg made straight after that and just before Jaws, I guess, which is great as well. And I think that did have a cinematic release, but it's got Goldie Hawn and William Atherton. William Atherton actually playing quite a sympathetic character. So that's really good. Very watchable road movie.
I've never seen, I'll have to check that out. I've not seen it.
Yeah, it just holds up really well. But I think the thing about Spielberg, isn't it? He just came out the blocks, didn't he? And just had a sense of film language that was beyond anyone else, really.
Have either of you watched his new one?
New Disclosure Day.
Because it's not 74 minutes long, Laszlo.
It wasn't made in the 70s either.
No.
If there was 7 involved, I'm not watching it.
Yes. On the subject of directors who came out of the gate swinging, I watched Send Help, which is directed by Sam Raimi. It's the new one that he made. Came out this year, I think. Early this year.
Think so. Yeah.
And I watched it on Disney Plus. So this has got Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien.
Oh, I like Dylan O'Brien.
They're both people. They're both very entertaining in this film. It was a two. I'll jump ahead. So it's a black comedy, horror thriller, as you would probably expect, kind of in the mold of War of the Roses, where it's sort of a couple that are at war with each other, but it's set on a tropical island. So she plays Linda, who's a sort of brainy but socially awkward, head of finance for a CEO for a company, which is run by Dylan O'Brien, who's the sort of new Nepo baby CEO who's just inherited the company. So she was a favorite of his father's, but he doesn't give a shit about her. And so she's undervalued in her role, but probably isn't really management material because she is so awkward. And he hasn't really earned his CEO status, but he knows how to play the game, and he's very popular with all of the men and the women in the company. But may have more value to him than meets the eye. Anyway, they go on a company trip in a private jet, and that crashes in the sea, and the two of them end up washing up on a desolate tropical island and are forced to survive. And she is obsessed with Survivor, the TV show, so she knows all the tricks. So now the tables have kind of turned where he has to rely on her for their survival rather than... And he's always reminding of her that she works for him, but then she just reminds him that if without her, he'd be dead. So it's kind of a fun antagonistic relationship where they're fighting the elements and the wild animals, but also they're always kind of on the edge of killing each other. So the question is whether they will prove their worth to each other and become a team to be reckoned with, or will they just kill each other off? So it's a neat and fun setup, and Sam Raimi never lets you forget that it's played very much tongue-in-cheek. So every time things take an earnest or romantic turn, he then flips things over and you end up with one of them spraying vomit into the other one's open mouth and things like that. That literally happens in this film. So yeah, it's fun. And because of the simple setup with only two of them, it's kind of limited in what they can do with it. But it does throw in just enough of those sort of gonzo kind of Sam Raimi moments to keep you entertained. And both the cast are like brilliant. She probably steals the show. Like, she's so twitchy and unflatteringly portrayed in this that like I could have had to take my hat off to her. She's very game, but he is also very fun in this sort of weaselly but charming occasionally sort of, I don't know, two-faced character. Yeah, so it was good fun. I can't really say much more about it without spoiling what happens. So if you're interested in a solid, decent Sam Raimi film, then it's definitely worth checking out.
Well, there's so few and far between of those that I am now. I will watch that, and actually, I'm going to take that as a launch pad to you've made me select the next film I'm going to talk about. So thank you for that, Laszlo.
You're welcome.
That's all right.
And thank you, Sam Raimi.
Thank you.
Making a passable film.
Are we going to address the elephant in the room, which is Stranger by Night?
We just going to continue with this madness? Please. Can I just give a little preamble to this, Rupert, if you're going to take lead of it, because you've seen it much more recently than I have. This is going back about 5 or 6 weeks now. I was scrolling along and I saw Stranger by Night starring, I saw Stephen Bauer, I saw Jennifer Rubin, I thought, I don't know who they are. Then I saw the name William Catt. And I thought, I'll watch this. And I watched this. I have a very specific position I watch films when I'm by myself. I'm sure you can tell what it is. But I watched this, and by about 20 minutes in, I was sat bolt upright thinking, this is amazing. This film, everything that happens is amazing. Have you seen this one, Laszlo?
Yeah. Well, I had to watch it after you.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. So yes, I'll let Ripper take the lead, but I'm hoping that what you say will jog mine, because of course I don't make notes. But oh my God, I love this film.
Well, I'll let Wikipedia take the lead on the plot. Just get that out of the way, okay? Detective Bobby Corcoran and his partner, Detective Larson, are on the hunt for a vicious serial killer. As the murderous villain stalks the city streets, leaving carnage in his wake, Corcoran begins to experience blackouts and sudden fits of anger. As the detectives pursue the case, they uncover evidence suggesting that one of them may be responsible for the mysterious deaths. This was made in 1994, directed by Gregory Dark, a.k.a. Gregory Hippolyte, who transitioned from soft porn. And yeah, like you say, it stars Stephen Bauer.
The Martin Campbell approach to movie making, is it?
Stars Stephen Bauer. Like Britt says, you might not know who that is, but you would know if I say he played Manny in Scarface, Al Pacino's best mate, then you might be able to picture him. And William Catt, of course, of House and White Ghost fame, and also Jennifer Rubin, who's from Dream Warriors and Screamers, Peter Weller. Jennifer Rubin's hair, it is like an 8-year-old child whose mum cuts their hair. It's amazing. I don't know if it's meant to be pixie-ish. It looks awful. But then you get to William Catt's hair, which is like fiercely curly and mulleted. And yet he like half tries to sweep it back like he's in a Michael Mann film, but it's just yearning to flop forward all the time. It's amazing. So William Catt, he is brilliant in the House films, but he's terrible here. He's woefully miscast. And he like presents as a kind of sleazebag. He presents as like a misogynistic sleazebag for the most part, but then only to be suddenly presented as like this middle of the road family man by the end of the movie. It's quite a bizarre. It's like the twist is that he's actually just a regular guy after just being a complete wanker the entire way through. I don't know what they're going for with the whole. I think they may be going for like a Black Rain vibe between these two, like this strange yuppie banter with Garcia and Douglas, but they just come across as a pair of misogynistic tossers most of the time.
But there's a bit where it's William Catt, I think. He's the partner, not the main guy, isn't he?
Yes, yeah.
Mm. And there's a prostitute, like in a car, and he just shouts at a prostitute to give him a taste. So then, like, she wipes a napkin between her legs and gives it to him, and he's like sniffing. He's like, "Oh yeah, great."
That's like
and I think it's meant to be humorous, and you're just like, "What the fuck?"
And this is the family man.
He talks about go back to his wife.
Yeah, there are things happen in this film. That electro funk music that they have during fight scenes and chase scenes is so incongruous. I have no idea what they're doing with that music.
The best bit of music is that bit at the beginning where it's a woman wailing, going,
"Oh yeah,
no,
don't hit me, don't attack me." While a woman's being attacked on the screen. Oh, what a movie!
The music is awful in this film.
There is a scene where Corcoran throws an escaped convict off a roof, and then he and his partner just go straight for a beer, leaving the guy's smashed body on the street. That was amazing. And also there's a scene where Corcoran goes for a drive to clear his head, and he looks in his glove compartment for cigarettes, takes his eye off the road, finds a human ear in the glove compartment, and has like a major car accident which totally writes off another vehicle, and he just keeps driving. It's just amazing. And it has a ridiculously sudden ending, which is it just basically reveals the identity of the killer and just provides no other satisfaction. It's just, all right, we're done now.
Yeah. Can I have a little bit of a deep dive on this, if that's cool? Because it's all flooding back now. Obviously, at the start, you've got Stephen Bauer, and he's portrayed as this like really rough and tumble, like just goes out drinking and shagging all the time. But then 15 minutes in, he's a completely different character. He's suddenly like really tortured. And William Catt, the whole thing at the start when he gets that, she like wipes a napkin on herself and gives it. And he's like, William Catt reacts like a 12-year-old boy, like, "Oh my god, that's the stuff." And he's like every time any woman shows him any attention, he's instantly like just jelly, like, "Oh come on, baby, please, baby." Wearing ridiculous suits that are not police uniform. There's the sequence where every woman in this film is either a whore or like someone who is just treated as an absolute subhuman, but then because of how the clunky plot works, they just reveal themselves to be like okay with what's going on. I'm going to spoil this. I don't give a shit. You still watch this film, people. Stranger by Night, right? So
spoiling it won't detract.
It doesn't
from
ruin
your
it. Doesn't ruin from the fun of it. Honestly, this is one of the best films I've ever seen. So there's a bit where one of his neighbours is a prostitute, obviously, and he goes in because she's been abused by a bloke, and he kicks the shit the bloke and ruins her apartment, and she just says, "Oh, do you want to shag me?" And he's like, "Nah, but I'll have a drink and go though." And then,
but by the way, sorry, just during that sequence as well, he beats the guy up and like kind of wins the fight, but then they just kind of start wandering around the apartment, and it's like this guy, he's not dead or anything. It's like he's just in the other room. It's like they just kind of leave him there.
yeah, he also out on the floor.
He tries to burn the guy's face off on a stove. You're like, that's quite extreme. If you try to get the guy out of the apartment, basically.
Yeah, and she sort of says he's had enough, and he just like hits his head and leaves him on the floor. As she says, "Oh, do you want to have sex now?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm tired now." Then there's William Cat's wife. We find that like he's just constantly cheating on her. They're constantly cheating on her, and not so much that as well. But he's also what like the prostitutes refer to as like a beater, because it's such a badly written plot that when Stephen Bauer breaks into this sort of escort service, and he says, you know, one of the madam who sort of owns it has been killed. He's like, "Oh, what does all this mean? You know, these symbols." And she says, "Well, that means that like William Cat is a beater. He beats up women." So then we're like, well, he's obviously the main suspect now. But then we find out that not only did the madam not mind because she liked being beaten, so that makes William Cat a good man again. But then when we found out that his wife, she is like, she sort of says, "Oh, not only don't mind being cheated on, I also don't mind that he beats women because he's such a good dad that I can like let that slide." So it's almost like they wrote themselves in a corner and just said, "Oh, let's just make his wife fine with everything," and then he does. Oh, okay. It's almost like the person who wrote this doesn't understand. It's like an alien pretending to be a human, not understanding what like emotions are. It's just making the plot functionally work. There's I just remember as well with this where Stephen Bauer's having these like blackouts and waking up in the morning, and it's he's not just being framed for these crimes. It's like he's being framed to like an impossible degree. Like there's one bit where he has like a glass of wine and falls asleep on his couch, and when he wakes up, he stands up, and William Cat comes in and goes, "Oh, what's that?" And there's like ripped negligee on his couch, and he goes, "I don't know." And then he puts his hand in his pocket and goes, "Oh, I had $100, but it's gone." Oh, and then William Cat says, "Oh, don't worry about that. Can you light my fag?" And he goes, "Oh, my lighter's gone." And then they get called to a crime scene, and they turn up, and then the forensic officer comes over to them, and he's like, well, someone's ripped a negligee off. She's got $100 in her pocket, and she's got your lighter, mate. And you're like, and then William Cat's, and you're like, come on, that's not just circumstantial evidence. And then he gets in his car, and it's like, oh, hang on, there's an ear in you and a bloody knife that she was killed with. It's like, come on. And then as the film goes on, it just gets more and more ridiculous. And then at the end, when Rupert said, when it kind of reveals its hand, there's like another twist, and then another twist, and then another twist, and it's like, fuck me, this film doesn't give a shit. It's just like saying, just let this happen, let this happen. Oh yeah, baby, get to the end. I loved it. This is a film I will happily watch every year because he cannot act. Stephen Bauer cannot act.
No, he can't even run. Like he's one of those like clueless physical performers where he runs like flopping his arms really loosely, and then when he's shooting at people, he jabs the gun at them as if like jabbing it will make the bullets go faster or something. And there's a bit where they're shooting each other and missing at point blank range just because they're jabbing the guns at each other instead of just aiming.
That's probably during one of the electro funk chase sequences.
Oh, the music. Yeah. Let's not forget
the ladder. They go up multiple rickety ladders.
You literally have that same sequence twice, basically, don't they?
Yeah. And he's like watching a guy slowly climbing up a ladder. Instead of just shooting him on the ladder, he like watches and waits until he gets to the top and then tries to climb up after him.
It's amazing. There's a scene in this as well, I think multiple times, because most of the film is the police saying, right, it's obviously him that's the killer. And then because it's so badly written, at the start, the captain leads us to believe by like how he speaks to William Cat that William Cat has sort of assumed that Stephen Bauer is the killer, and he's like led them to where he is. But then when Stephen Bauer escapes that, it's never mentioned that he like turned him in. He barely escapes from that sort of setup. But then next week with William Cat, they're like mates again. And then it's Stephen Bauer's turn to suspect him. It's just like they was filmed out of sequence. And like William Cat, it's like he doesn't know what he's supposed to be. He's like, oh, so I'm really horny. Oh, you're a family man. Because the film is shot out of sequence, it's like he just thought, I'm just going to do stuff and they'll make a film. But because there's multiple, that's what I was going to say, there's multiple sequences in this film where Steve Bauer, like, it's like a foot chase or whatever. And the police just like give up within a few feet. Because there's a bit where he goes into his neighbour's house and the police turn up and they're like, oh, she's looking for you. Oh, you're the one doing it. And she calls the police into her apartment and he jumps out of the window and he goes on the fire escape, lands really awkwardly and stands up and like stumbles off around a corner with a twisted ankle in like Cuban heels. Right? So he's running, stumbles off around the corner in Cuban heels. The police then like run full blazes out of the front door, see him disappear around a corner about 50 feet away and they're like, oh, you got away. You got away. You could have given chase, 6 of you. You could have probably run after him and caught him, really. Running after a really tired man who's twisted his ankle, running in jeans and Cuban inches heels. So, but yeah, I just loved it. I absolutely loved this film. And it would be a pleasure to own this on DVD. Absolute gold.
The guy who made this, Gregory Dark, I did a little look-see on him. Unsurprisingly, he also had a history in the adult movie business. And there's like a lengthy sex scene in this, which you think this is a bit like softcore for no reason. Yes, apparently he's made a few films. Maybe he's one to look into.
It could
not
be.
They're not necessarily as softcore films, but he made a few thrillers. And I think he's a bit of an odd one.
Yeah, I'm very much up for that because, my God, Animal Instincts, 1992, erotic thriller, directed by Gregory Dark, Maxwell Caulfield, Shannon Weary, Jan Michael Vincent, and David Carradine. Oh my God! Well, I think I know my new Godfrey Ho.
Also, an interesting fact I noticed from the credits that this was shot by Wally Pfister. And that's nothing to do with adult movies, but he's the guy who shot all of Christopher Nolan's films up until, I want to say Tenet.
But Wally Pfister used to be in soft porn, didn't he?
Well, the name like that, I mean, probably.
Well, no, I genuinely think he might have done.
Yeah, well, that would make sense. Maybe he worked for Gregory Dark.
There you go.
On
maybe
some of his other things.
He did trade from Gregory Dark.
I still think his best film was Wally Pfister, Yesy Wall. Yeah, so that's good.
I miss Wally Pfister, Christopher Nolan films, by the way, because I really don't like how all of his films are now like sort of murky pastel shades kind of looking. Wally Pfister's ones that he did, at least they popped with color and stuff.
Did he do Tenet?
No.
No, because that looked like shit, didn't it?
The last, I think it was the third Batman film was probably the last one they did together.
Right, okay.
But anyway,
that's set me off on I'm going to keep this up on my screen because I'm going to dive deep into Gregory Dark's 90s thrillers. That's where I live now. So yeah, so that was so. Is it me now?
It is.
Oh my bloody hell! I feel like I haven't stopped talking. Well, actually, I'll go on then with really quickly with that's my film of the week, by the way. I'm not moving from straight. What a film! Forwarding on from Laszlo's commentary about couples attacking each other with Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams, Send Help. I watched Over Your Dead Body, which I'm sure you've both seen advertised.
I've seen it.
Yeah. So this is it's based on another film I've never heard about. But it is kind of like, I'm assuming I was going to say Dutch, but it's based on a Norwegian film called The Trip. This is an action comedy thriller, although it's more of I would say it's more of like a black comedy, starring Jason. I look weirdly thin and old Segel. He's one of those like hulking bodies, like a thin face, but like a kind of lanky frame, and Samara Weaving, who I'm not familiar with. I am familiar with Timothy Olyphant, whom I fancy. And if you zoom in on the poster on this film, that is not Timothy Olyphant. That is a drawing that someone's done from far away of Timothy Olyphant.
We were discussing the terribleness of the poster, weren't we?
It's absolutely dreadful. It's absolutely dreadful. So yeah, if the listeners want to go to Wikipedia, you just click on Over Your Dead Body Movie 2026. It's one of the worst posters I've ever seen. There's so much to take away from it. It's Juliette Lewis looks more like Christina Ricci. Timothy Olyphant looks like he's doing like a Kenneth Williams impression. I don't know what's happening in that poster. I don't care for it.
He looks a bit like the troll man face, with his jutting out chin kind of thing.
So yes, this film is about Jason Segel plays someone called Dan Burton, who's a director that has sort of made one film like 8 years ago, but has since been just doing like ads and stuff. His dad is at a nursing home, and he's a sort of an ex-army vet who wishes he died in battle, not the place in Sussex, like in a war. And his wife Lisa is sort of I would say like an aspiring actress, and the main plot of it is that he says, let's go to Dad's cabin to sort of reconnect, but really he just wants to kill her and claim life insurance money. I don't really want to spoil this film because it's brand new, and I did really like it, with caveats. So the sort of it's one of those films that the less you know, the better. So basically, the whole plot is that they go off there, and I suppose it's not a spoiler because from what the trailer say that like he's going to kill her, but she kind of also planned to kill him, and it sort of escalates from there. It's like quite nicely shot. It's quite pacey, and the bickering is kind of funny, and the violence does get quite full on in a wonderful way. I saw some reviews where people said it's actually quite tonal, and even like there's a sort of a bit in the film which kind of it won't make sense when I say it now because I'm not going to explain the plot because I don't want to spoil it. But there's a sort of hinted like male rape scene that I think some people had trouble with, but for me it sort of just made sense, and it was done in such a like darkly comedic way that it was genuinely just really tense and horrible as opposed to tonally uneven. There's some pretty graphic violence in it. There's one bit that actually had me laughing out loud where someone just gets like their foot completely blown almost off, and then they like take their shoe off and they're going insane with pain and like pouring vodka on their foot, and they're like trying to piece it back together with gaffer tape. Oh, this bit goes here, that goes there, and it's just clearly just a load of mincemeat that isn't going to be able to be fixed. That had me laughing. It reminded me a little bit in that respect of one of my favorite comedy horrors, and I forget the title now. What's the one, Rupert? The one, it's, oh my God, it's two men's names. It's a rural comedy horror.
Tucker and Dale.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. That kind of tone in the back half of the film, and it does a few flash forwards and backwards, and the dad kind of gets involved. But both Faye and I watched it, and it did kind of live up to its premise. It gets sort of wonderfully balmy, and the characters are it's sort of caricatures really of the people they're playing, but it's such a fast paced film that it sort of works. The only thing I would say is, as with all sort of films like this, when you've got these over the top caricatures, when the ending comes, I don't need to say the ending. I suppose what I want to say is they're a couple that like fundamentally would not get on with each other, and yet the film is kind of determined to show them like, it's could be happily ever after. They could work together, but you're like, but I've never seen them happy. And they seem so discordant with each other that it's like, well, they're clearly just like different people. There's this. You're trying to make out that they once loved each other. At the end, maybe they'll be happy again. You're like, no, they're just fundamentally different people who probably shouldn't have married each other. And I'd rather the film went down that route than what it does. But in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't really matter because the film is so fun and graphic. So I quite liked it. Although I can imagine some people will find it a bit distasteful in some aspects. And I can appreciate that.
I know Samara Weaving from Ready or Not. Which was a decent movie. She was also in that bloody awful
Weaving's
I was going to say, is she Hugo Weaving's son? Oh, uncle.
Uncle.
Is she Hugo Weaving's son? I
can't bloody tell these days, mate.
Yeah. She was in that insufferable babysitter film. I think that was a Netflix movie. But she was also in Bill and Ted, and she was quite fun in that. I think she's quite talented.
She's a decent actress.
I'm just looking because I didn't think about the surname Weaving, but if you go on her, so my voice is going through been rehearsing for the album launch so much, so I'm a bit squeaky. But if you go to a Wikipedia page and scroll down to about halfway to like the fifth picture, slightly distasteful, like just down blouse shot of her signing autographs, and you're like, could you have just like she's a pretty woman, but you think maybe not on a Wikipedia page have like a really
it's just like
down blouse shot for no reason.
Yeah, her face kind of shrouded, and yet like just her like bosom just in view. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Like that sums her up. That's her recently. Right. Yeah, but if you go to Jason Segel's picture, his main picture on Wikipedia is him just having a shit. So that's it's better than that. Yeah, bless him. So it's like that's me done. So it's back to Laszlo.
On the back of that, I'm tempted to talk about one that I actually watched recently, which was where's it gone on
Out for
list?
A kill? Nico?
They Will Kill You.
Is it called? Okay,
it's called They Will Kill You. But that is one I watched recently, and it would be breaking my rules of going chronologically. So I'm gonna have to. We'll come to that probably in 4 weeks' time. Instead, I'm going to talk about. I've got a double bill of Stephen King adaptations that I watched, both involving various forms of exercise. So, first of which is The Long Walk, which came out last year, directed by Francis
again,
Lawrence.
Laszlo, you can watch whatever films you want. You don't have to watch any like Stephen King adaptations or Dean Koontz. You can just watch good films if you want. It's fine.
Well, both of these adaptations are not terrible.
All right, team one meeting. Oh, sorry, go on. I jest.
I thought the rules. There have been some good Stephen King adaptations, haven't there? In recent years, I feel like they've. No, maybe not. It's like computer games.
Like someone who hasn't seen Cell with John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson, one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Did I watch that? I might have watched that.
It's bad.
Anyway, The Long Walk is not bad. It's just flawed. So this stars Cooper Hoffman, son of Thingy Hoffman. Oh my God.
What's Philip Seymour, Dustin?
Oh yeah, I want to keep going to say Dustin. It's not Dustin. Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. And David Johnson, who was in that fairly recent Alien film and was probably the best thing in it, where he played the android. And this is based on a Stephen King dystopian novel set in an alternative, I want to say 1950s-ish America, where America has collapsed financially in the wake of losing an unnamed war, presumably the Second World War, but this has more of a Vietnam-y vibe. I don't know. Anyway, so America's
Korean
turned
War?
into... Sorry?
Korean War.
Could be.
It probably just got into debt from World War II, and then it was like that really finished them off.
Yeah, the cars and that are like have got that sort of 40s, 50s, like bubbly.
Firebird. Yeah, the big bubbly. I've read the book to this years ago.
Right, it was written not under his name, wasn't it? I think it was
one of the Barkman books. Is it?
Yes, I think so. Anyway, so America has turned into a dictatorship, and young people across the US, volunteers, take part in an annual state-sponsored march across America, or as far as you can go. Anyway, that's televised, and the reward for the winner is a huge cash prize, and a single wish will be granted for you by the government. The catch is that you can't stop or slow down for more than a moment, because if you do, you'll get shot. And so there are no overnight stops, no rest breaks. You can't step off the road. You can't even have a piss or a shit without having to kind of continually shuffle forward at the same time.
Do they explain this? Do they say you can't have a piss or a shit, or do they word it differently to that?
They don't really. They just say if you slow down like for more than 10 seconds or something, you get a warning, and then you'll get a second warning, and then they'll kill you. And if you don't pick up your pace, and they've all got little watch things on that tell them how fast they're going. So if they drop below that amount, then they know. And you only find out really that they can't piss or shit when they start pissing and shitting whilst sort of shuffling along.
So hang on, can only one person win? Does everyone die except one person?
Yes.
Well, why would anyone? This is one of those. Is one of those.
You're going to ruin my review, Rupert. By
are you going to mention the Purge
all the problems
in this?
that it has?
Like where it's just like such a flawed premise, it just takes twice as long to get into the movie because you're like, well, that doesn't make sense from the start. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's riddled with that stuff. So obviously it's meant to be an allegory for like young men volunteering to go to war and face certain death, offering up their lives for an impossible ideal. And every contestant in it is a young man, and it's kind of color graded with that sort of desaturated, pastel tones of every contemporary war film. And then when the violence hits, it is like shocking and sad, and like how futile the whole thing is. So it's basically a war movie, but minus the war, and it's effective in its simplicity, and it is nicely shot, and the cast is good, except for Mark Hamill, who plays like the main military general who runs it, who's just kind of a bit one-note villain. I can't honestly say I felt super sad when they get inevitably killed off, because most of them are kind of dicks, which I don't know, which does kind of work against it. But yes, the main problem, as you've highlighted, is that why anyone would volunteer for this. It doesn't give you any sense of the outside world. Like, it doesn't cut away to people watching at home on the TV, and there's most of the film, there's not even people on the sides of the road like watching or cheering like a marathon or anything. So you don't get a sense that this is something the whole nation is participating in, which might have been a budget thing, because they do seem to be almost walking through the same fields multiple times. But it begs the question, why would anyone want to take part in this unless they really spin it in some way? But you never see that, so you don't understand why these kids, and they're all like super pumped at the beginning, like these kids, they really like seem to think that they're going to win, and they don't even consider the fact that, like, in order for them to win, every person they're talking to at this moment has to die. It's just kind of ignored. And I have to assume it's intentionally so, but it doesn't. Then you end up coming away with lots of questions about how this thing would work. Yeah, and why if you were to watch it on the TV, I think maybe this is why they don't do it. It's because anyone watching this it's like an absolute horror show. Why would you want to volunteer for something where you'll be on national television shitting and pissing while shuffling along, and if you can't sleep for days on end, and you have to walk until your feet are bloody messes, and your reward will probably be getting your brains blown out.
Because Francis Lawrence made Hunger Games, didn't he? So
yes,
which kind of justified itself because it was a spectacle and there was a whole pomp ceremony around it, wasn't it? So it was meant to be like kind of like a TV event type thing.
Yeah, you had no doubt that was a big thing that everyone was watching. But also they got forced into taking part, whereas in this, they've all volunteered. So, yeah, I don't know why anyone would ever volunteer.
It's implausible on multiple levels, isn't it?
Other than the prize money. But then they don't even seem very motivated by the prize money. It seems like they're just taking part because it's like a national service kind of thing. But, yeah, anyway, ultimately, yes, I think they were aware that they couldn't convince you that this would really work, and therefore they don't really bother showing you that. It's just meant to be a metaphor, and you just kind of don't take it at face value, basically.
Okay.
And if you ignore how implausible and illogical it all is, it is a solid drama with a couple of really excellent lead performances, and it is thought-provoking. But yeah, I don't. On reflection, I think you'd be better off just watching an actual war film, because then at least they've got a fighting chance, and there's some potentially interesting historical context, and you might spice it up with some tension and thrills. So yeah, it's like a war film without any of the, in quote mark, fun parts of a war film.
I'll give this one a skip, Laszlo. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, that's fair.
This reminds me of that. What was that film I watched? I really enjoyed the first one. Then they made a sequel where it's like they deliver food down through a tower, and as the food goes down, and the first one was really interesting.
One. Yeah,
and then they made a sequel, and it was completely pointless from the start. Like it was, and I just turned it off halfway through, and I thought, what? But I feel like with this, it's like I've read the book, and it's like an interesting idea to sort of mull around in your head and chew on. But because I've read the book, I feel like I really don't need to see the film. It's like it's more of a conversation starter than a piece of entertainment.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of think of it in my head. I don't need to see the film.
And I gather they've made some changes from the book to this, but not from what I looked up, nothing really that fundamental. It's just people like, oh, that character got a short shrift in the film. He was good in the book. And you're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
And the ending is slightly different.
The Mist, that was a good Stephen King adaptation. Does that count as recent?
2000, I'm going to say 7.
Actually, it probably was a long
it's
time
more
ago.
recent than some things.
We should do. Didn't we do a Stephen King episode a couple of years ago?
The Langoliers.
Surely The Shining counts as a good.
Well, yes,
Stephen King.
but I suppose these are older movies. Speaking of William Catt, of course, he was the kid in Carrie in the 70s. I think he was the guy she goes to the prom with, in fact.
We should do it. Maybe for this. Maybe this November we should for Halloween we should do a Stephen King episode where we just go through his whole filmography and like do a good or bad.
That sounds fine. Absolutely
Argue
fine.
the toss. We'll call it Stephen King arguing the toss.
Arguing about a load of toss.
Yeah, arguing about toss. Yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah, that could be quite fun actually. I'm just scrolling here. There's been a few film adaptations. Graveyard Shift is one I was thinking.
Well, I'll be covering The Running Man next.
Oh, okay.
Thank goodness. Where is The Long Walk?
The Long Walk was on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
It's actually pronounced Amazon Prime.
Oh, you.
No problem.
Linguist over here.
It's you, Rupert.
Yeah, I think I'm going to talk about a film that you've both seen and probably covered on this show, but I need to talk about it. Weapons. I think actually, Laszlo and I covered this a couple of weeks ago.
I've not seen it.
Well, it is a horror movie from Zach Cregger, who made Barbarian. I mean, I know I'm going over old ground here because literally Laszlo's covered it already, but I don't care because I want to talk about it. It's about 17 children from the same classroom who mysteriously run away on the same night at the same time. And it's split into different chapters, each focusing on a different character as the mystery slowly reveals itself. Spoiler alert, it's basically a witch movie. It's like a very classy...
Is this the one that I remember Laszlo saying it was just constantly showing repeated footage, which was one of my least favorite things?
Yeah. It goes back in time and you see the same events, but from a different perspective.
Yeah, from different perspectives. So it's like a very classy Conjuring film with this more of a sense of humor. It's almost like, it acts as almost like an anthology, with each character getting like 30 minutes, I guess. And I think it works because each story is interesting. I can't remember, Laszlo, but I think one of your issues with it was that you didn't think that the final sequence kind of matched the build-up. Would that be correct? I have a recollection of that.
I mean, my general misgiving about it was that in the repeat bits, there were too many bits where it was like yes, it's a different camera angle, but I'm not getting a new perspective on this event, and therefore I don't need to see it again, sort of thing.
So I thought it was quite cleverly done, though. I liked the way each story like introduces it, ratchets it up to another level, and it's like a character will come like running into the frame, and they're completely bonkers, and they got blood all over their face or whatever, and it's like, right. And then you kind of like, it goes to that character and how they got into that position. I just thought it was quite well structured. I like how, like, the freaky bad guy person in this is not dissimilar to the one in Longlegs in kind of like the way they look, etc. But in this, the style of the film isn't dour and slow. It's very fast and unpredictable, I would say. And I like how it unapologetically presents this particular character who just appears completely nutty and just is completely nutty. And I think there's some really well-earned, well-crafted jump scares. But it's always mixed with humor, which I like. There's a scene where Josh Brolin is like pouring his heart out to his son. His son's in bed and he's pouring his heart out to him. And let's just say the son's face changes suddenly, and it's so frightening that it's actually funny. And it's made even funnier when like he wakes up from this dream, Josh Brolin, and he literally says, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" And I thought the tonal balance was pretty much perfect. Like, it's not so comedic it undermines the fear factor, but it also is not so horrendous it becomes a dreary slog. I really liked it. I thought it was a step up from Barbarian, and I'm intrigued to see what Craig does with Resident Evil. I just think, like Damien Leone, who did the Terrifier movies, I think Craig is someone, he deeply understands the horror genre, it seems to me, and he's happy to have fun with it, unlike Osgood Perkins. So that's all about that.
Just a little kick in the ribs there. The end.
Constantly disappointing, man.
That's literally the first line on my Tinder profile. With Osgood Perkins, I just remember watching his film and thinking, "Oh, these would make like really good posters." Like some of the imagery, and that's not good because that's static imagery. That's a different form of medium. That is, yeah.
With 2 hours of filmmaking.
I'm going to watch this. This is a film I meant to watch. Where is it streaming? Sorry, Rupert.
Now TV.
Oh my! What the fuck? Why do you both watch Now TV? It's Disney. It's Prime. It's Netflix, or it's nothing.
Yeah, almost in that order. They're clearly Prime first.
Now TV is basically Sky, so it gets a lot of the new releases first. That's the reason why I have it. But it is annoyingly expensive.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I've just never. I'm obviously like a few troubles with my time. Don't get me wrong.
It's bullshit. It's such bullshit because it's like if you pay like a reasonable amount, then you get like fucking 480p on one device, and then he kind of just bolts on other stuff. So it's like, you want like 1080p? That'll be another £7 a month. Oh, Ultra HD, that's a bit of money on top. Total bullshit.
Yeah,
I'll have to find another way to do this then. But
and none of these packages that they have stop it from just going black screen occasionally, but the sound carries on playing. That's multiple times. That's caught me out. I thought it was part of the film, and then realised that it's not.
Yeah.
Now TV.
Up until at least recently, it didn't have like profiles on it either.
Good.
I pay for sports on Now TV for my dad, and it costs me nearly £40 a month for that, and I don't watch it.
Why?
And I don't think he watches it either. This is the major problem with it all. I did it for his birthday years ago, literally about 5 years ago now, probably. And my sisters were supposed to contribute towards it, and they never have. And every now and again, I check in with them and go, "Do you just still watch anything on Now TV?" And he goes,
"Oh yeah,
yeah, I do, yeah."
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you're just saying
the curling in the Olympics
to make me feel better about it, but you don't, do you? You're not watching anything on here. Anyway.
No, when you said
this topic aside,
but the sports are clearly like you'd be willing to pay that much if you're the kind of person who just constantly watches like all the football that's on.
If I wasn't also already paying for all the streaming because I watch films, not for sports.
If your dad was from South Wales and you said, you still, I'm paying for Now TV, you still watching anything? He would have said, oh, yeah, fucking, and you think you're thinking of something to say and you're swearing as in like an intermediary word. Oh, no, I watch a fucking, it's so brilliant watching. I love that. Or do I hate it? So, I'm going to try. I think we should squeeze through one each. I'm happy to go till 4 a.m. I watched a Mel Gibson film called Hunting Season 2025, which I have not watched. Have you seen this, Laszlo? That was a derogatory laughter there.
Prime keeps trying to make me watch it, but I can't get over the Mel Gibson thing. Like, I've rewatched some of his older things.
Well, the fact he's a racist misogynist. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it just irks me. And I look at his face and I just see a sort of racist, sexist scumbag, and I can't bring myself to watch his films anymore.
Well, you were pleased to know that I can. I was watching this. I mean, I like Mel Gibson. I think I describe him as maybe a role model. No, he's been a bit of a dicky bird. And when you watch his recent interviews, he seems genuinely unhinged. Like he's really twitchy and just seems like he's constantly on drugs. But of course, the drug he's on is unfortunately insanity. And
he just seems weirdly like he has this weird nervous energy about him. Doesn't he?
This animation that he's just really like he can't keep it. Like he's it's almost like a Tourette sort of thing. Like, but he's obviously totally bonkers. But I don't judge people. I'll watch anything. And so I checked this on, and it's. It did tickle me because, and it says it here on Wikipedia that the description on, I think it was Amazon Prime, said it follows a reclusive survivalist and his daughter. And I was like, click, put it on. First thing you see, him going to town, laughing and joking with everyone, buying his groceries. And I thought, not too much of a recluse though, is he? Because he's like real like upstanding member of the community. The police really respect and turn to for advice. So he's obviously had like worked in the military, but he is all about survivalism, and he's got a daughter. She calls him Bo, and he calls her Kid all the time. And they live in this like quite a beautiful like rustic cabin that he's hand built, and it's quite clear there's something with the relationship that's not completely above board. But he's really, really keen on looking after her and teaching her, like, when I'm gone, because he does play quite an old man at this. When I'm gone, you need to look after yourself and, live alone and be a survivalist. So she's like fishing and shooting and all that sort of stuff. And what happens is one day they're fishing in a creek, and she brings back a really quite awfully wounded woman. And Mel Gibson realizes that she's been involved in sort of a gang attack, and he knows that keeping her there is going to cause them a lot of problems. But it's the first time that his daughter's sort of seen someone from outside their really small social circle, and she's really keen to like make a friend. And he's sort of torn between being completely overprotective of his daughter, or just disappointing her. Because he realizes that her world needs to be bigger than just him. And then it just escalates from there. And Faye and I both really enjoyed this because Mel Gibson does a really good job in this of not being like a total kick-ass ex-soldier. He's just all about like just them living in this little bubble and looking after it. But he is willing to sort of go out of his way to let her sort of make her own sort of explorations of life. But he is dubious about people, and the way when it does kick off, the way he handles things is really cool. And I was going to say something else, but I lost my train of thought. Then there's there's just that's what I was going to say. So there's the way he handles things is really cool, and it's a tiny spoiler, but it ties into something I really love about. Rupert, what's that Tom Cruise film I really liked where he has a brilliant face at the end.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. There's a scene at the end of this film where Mel Gibson's in a certain situation and it could easily have gone down a certain route, and he's watching something happen, and it kind of reminds me of is it called the long Good Friday or the Long Friday with Bob Hoskins, where a character goes through
Friday.
Long Good Friday, where a character goes through like a myriad emotions, and you can't quite read them. I always find that really powerful, and he's just in this really sort of gentle.
Check out Michael Clayton as well, because
that's a film I do need to watch. That is a film that's popped up a few times.
That definitely inspired by the Long Good Friday at the end.
Oh, really? I'm gonna have to. I'll make a note of that now. But yeah, this for me, I find those moments so powerful, and it's quite understated, but it's just on him at the end for like 10, 15 seconds, and it's him like going through this sort of melange of emotions. And I thought, oh, do you know what? I love those scenes so much and I enjoyed the film, that it was kind of worth it for that, because I find those moments so powerful. So yeah, I really enjoyed Hunting Season. Mel Gibson's not someone I'd invite round for tea, especially if I had Jewish or female friends. But yeah, he's good in this, and it was nice to see like a relatively, I say understated, it's kind of an action thriller, but a relatively understated, twitchy performance from him. Because the last film I saw him in before this, where he was like brought in as some sort of consultant on a murder, was dreadful. It was like he just turned up pissed and he was on holiday and they just happened to film him. It was awful. So this is a step up from that. So yeah, Hunting Season, it's nice.
You've just reminded me, have you ever seen Pearl with Mia Goth?
No.
That has another hilarious, like, last shot where it's just her grinning, like maniacally, like grinning into camera, and then the credits roll, and she just holds this face, and it's so like awkward to watch. Like she's literally sort of trying to grin as the biggest grin she can, and it goes on for probably like 2 minutes or more. And it's very, very slowly fades out. And you can see like her eyes are starting to water and her face is starting to twitch because she's holding this grimace for so long. It's brilliant. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, there is something about that I really, not so much that's obviously a different take on it, but when you're watching someone who's so uncomfortable in the situation they're in, or that does not deal with it because it's kind of outside of their remit, that, I don't know, I just, when it's done well, I think it's one of my favourite things in cinema. Kind of like, I know Rupert and Laura are going to talk about when it goes back to that David Lynch film, the Silencio scene in
Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive. There's like these moments of realization I think are fantastic. So yeah, this is a minor version of that, but I liked it. I did like it. But excellent. Most people probably won't watch a 100-minute film for 15 seconds of footage, and I appreciate that.
Bloody heathens.
Laszlo, is back to you, babe.
Rupert? Is it back to me, is it?
Yeah. Should we do one more each? We'll let you two and then we'll end.
Yeah, I've got a quickie after this, no problem.
Yeah, I'm enjoying myself. I'm a bugger for enjoying myself. Sorry, go on, Laszlo.
We've also got to allow a good hour for the mass Chris
yeah, that is
challenge.
True. Yeah, you are right there.
Okay, so The Running Man, this is the Edgar Wright version of The Running Man, which I watched on Now TV, which I definitely don't overpay for. This is the second Stephen King adaptation of the week that involves humans getting some ill-advised exercise. And it stars Glenn Powell. Apparently this is a more faithful adaptation of the novel. It's certainly quite different from the Arnie one, but is it as good? Actually, no. Yes, because I don't really like the original one.
Oh my God.
That said, this is not without its issues. It occasionally has, it's the same plot as The Running Man, effectively. So people volunteer to take part in a live streamed TV show where they're hunted down by the people who run the show. And if they survive for a certain amount of time, they get a prize. It really is quite similar plot-wise, actually, to The Long Walk, now I think about it. But anyway, it only occasionally shows moments of Edgar Wright's kind of signature style and techniques. Like there's a moment which springs to mind where, because he's like a wanted man, so there's these big wanted posters, animated posters of him around the place, and he's wearing like this sort of limited disguise, and he's stood in front of a giant animated poster of his mugshot, and as it like shows it in profile to the left and profile to the right, he looks left and right, like trying to be undercover but replicating the wanted poster behind him without realizing. Nice little touches like that peppered throughout, but on the whole, it's a bit, the action is a bit generic. It's like happens in quick bursts, but there aren't any sort of exciting, prolonged action scenes. If you think of something like Minority Report, there's nothing in this that compares to like that prolonged jetpack chase that happens in that film. Also, the TV show aspect in this, like The Long Walk, feels underdeveloped.
Long Good Walk. Yeah, bloody even good stretch of my legs.
He's walking and going through a range of emotions.
And jumping a bit, clicking his heels together every now and
again. There are only 3 contestants in this. And they're only on camera for brief moments. So like they kind of have drone cameras, but they have to lose those, otherwise they're going to get killed. So the cameras only catch them usually in the last few moments before they get killed. So as a viewer experience, you're not watching anything for most of the time they're on the run, which feels like a major. It's not like Big Brother where you're watching them constantly. You only see them the moment that the police or whatever catch up with them and kill them. So I don't know what you're watching for. The show's entertainment is essentially going to amount to a grand total of 10 minutes or something. Anyway, ignoring that, I don't know. Oh God, what do I want to say about this? It's disjointed. And Glenn Powell like sort of jumps from one location to another without us really understanding why he's gone to that place or how he got there without being seen. So it lacks that through line. It kind of jumps in time, and I don't really know why, other than perhaps they cut down scenes, like heavily edited it to make it more action packed. I gather the ending deviates from the book, and from what I've read, I'm quite glad that it did. Because I don't think the ending would play to a modern audience as well. But, I enjoyed the ride overall. I mean, if you could just turn your brain off and just sort of, it feels like a throwback to something almost like Wedlock or something, where it's just a bit basic, a bit cheap, but it's quite propulsive, and it's just somebody on the run from authorities, and there's a few fun action beats and that here and there. You could do a lot worse than spending your time watching this if you just want to watch a kind of mindless action film. But
it's funny that you should mention
it's disappointing.
Because my final film is going to mention Rutger Hauer. I'm actually reading his biography at the moment as well.
Yeah,
I'll give it to you both afterwards. I'll sign it, and you can not sign it and give it back to me.
You're going to sign it, Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, I can't spell those words, so I'll just write Dennis.
I really, really didn't like The Running Man, but I think we can definitely agree that it's in the mold of like Ben Wheatley directing Meg 2, where it's like you kind of wanting there to be something of his authorship in there, and it's not really there. It's probably a bit more in The Running Man, I suppose.
Who directed the remake of The Running Man then?
Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was expecting more. I mean, the problem is the script, really. I thought that in the entire last act, it's like, what is happening? Why are they here? Why is it a road movie all of a sudden? Anyway, let's not relitigate this film.
Yeah, it would have been much better if it had been more contained. Like, I feel like the Arnie one's probably like that, isn't it? Where he's just in a city and he's running around from alleyway to, rooftop to building, rather than going out. They go out into like forests and fields, and he's covering vast amounts of ground. But I don't know why
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of the original. It's quite fun, but it is at least pretty simple. And again, it does seem like a vaguely believable, like as a TV show kind of spectacle, because it's all just arena fights, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if you want to watch someone just clumsily wander around like rooftops, you can just watch Haywire with Gina Carano.
Oh my God, yeah.
If that's what you're after.
Or if you want to watch someone, what was it? Climb down a ladder onto a roof. What was it? Cyber Tracker
with Don the Dragon Wilson, yeah, where they climb down a ladder and end up on a roof.
Or just watch Stranger by Night and watch somebody climb up a few ladders.
Yeah.
And then later on climb up the same ladders again, but chasing someone else.
I'm going to have to watch that film again now, aren't I? After I've watched Michael Clayton, there'll be a difference in quality there.
Maybe a golf. Right. I'll round this all off with another Now TV special. Although obviously I bought this ages ago. Flash Gordon from 1980. Comic book movie from Mike Hodges, best known for Get Carter at that point. And this is about Flash Gordon, who's a football quarterback. And then Ming the Merciless, played by Max von Sydow, attacks planet Earth out of boredom, I might add. And then Flash and his unlikely friends, a journalist called Dale and a mad scientist called Hans, played by Topol, travel to the planet Mongo,
Really?
to unite the alien factions, played by Timothy Dalton and Brian Blessed, to take him out. It's amazingly fast moving, this film, and it's funny and kind of exciting in a way. And it goes for this super camp tone, but also without tedious self-referential comedy. And because it's going for like kitsch rather than delicate world-building immersion, it's actually weirdly not dated in a way. And I suppose that tone also separates it from a lot of like post-Star Wars movies at the time, which were going for like sober and operatic, serious, rather than leaning into the silliness, which this does. Two great performances, especially Dalton as this love-struck prince, and obviously Max von Sydow as Ming, chewing scenery, and also Ornella Muti as this femme fatale daughter who gets the tone just right, and Brian Blessed at his most Brian Blessed, shouting in kinky leather. And the music's great by Queen and Howard Blake, the title track, obviously. But also there's some really nice incidental music, which has some genuinely nice melodies and obviously stirring orchestral rock sections. And yeah, it's just an endlessly rewatchable movie, really. And you get the sense that everyone involved clearly got the assignment, if you know what I mean.
Do you think even the guy who plays Gordon, like, knew? It's hard to tell with like, he doesn't come across as very bright, but maybe he's just
I don't know. Yeah,
not
that's
very
the thing.
bright.
I think I genuinely think that. I mean, I think he's meant to be like really young in this, and of course, he doesn't look really young. He looks like 45. But yeah, I do think that is quite a clever performance. I don't think he's just too dumb to realize what he's in. I think he's just getting the tone right. It's a really cool movie.
Were you inspired to watch this because of He-Man, the new one?
Don't think so. My wife wanted to watch it because she loves it, obviously. Yeah. So dig it out.
You say it's on Now TV.
Yeah. Right. Seeing as the comic book wave is over now officially, let's go back to the classics, shall we?
Can I squeeze in a final one before we do the AZ?
Sure.
Two things actually. The first thing is our mutual friend Mal told me something the other day. He said we were talking about those sweat, because during the heat wave in the UK the last week, we're talking about like really sweaty films. We're talking about Body Heat and Night Moves, not that one. And he said, "Have you ever seen the soundtrack to Body Heat?" And I said, "No." He said, "The last track kind of gives away a lot." And the last track on Body Heat with Is it? Who are the two actors in it? So one of you will know.
William Hurt
and
Kathleen Turner.
Angelica
Kathleen
Houston?
Turner.
Oh.
The last track, 15, 4 minutes, 23 seconds, is called Matty Was Mary Ann. So if you bought the soundtrack before you watched the film, you're like, oh, that's kind of spoilt it for me now. Like I've spoilt it for anyone who was going to watch it. So apologies for that.
It's like that track on the Crying Game soundtrack where it's called It's a Dude.
Actually, and then in brackets it says Dick Out. I watched A Breed Apart, not that one. This is going to be a really quick one. It's just one of those really interesting films. Do you remember years ago, Rupert? I think it's pre-Laszlo. I watched that film, a Canadian horror film, where they just lost loads of footage, and so they ended up just like filming them in like an abandoned lodge. And I said it was like really beautiful to watch, but really aimless.
Right. Yeah, I do remember that.
You remember that? Classic cinema. I'm in a bit of a Rutger Hauer bent at the moment, and that's why I bought his biography, which I'm reading, which is so typically Dutch. It's so straight to the point. And he was in a film called A Breed Apart in 1984, not Split Second, which is one of his best films. I watched this because if you look at the cover, there are a few covers for this film, a few different posters, and one of them is sort of a Mad Maxian sort of cover. The other one is this sort of, there's an eagle tearing through a man and a woman, and they're dressed up, and it's, it's between them, and in the distance there's this sort of setting sun. And I thought, I have to watch this. It looks like a post-apocalyptic like thriller or something. No, it's a contemporary conservationist drama, isn't it? And so this Donald Pleasance gets power. I'm going to do this as quickly as I can. It's on Prime, of course it is. Donald Pleasance hires Powers Booth, who's a world-renowned climber, to steal this rare bald eagle egg to complete this egg collection. And Powers Booth says, "Isn't that the last surviving example of that species of bald eagle?" And he's like, "Yes, but you nick it, and I'll have it in my collection and then they'll die out." So. We cut then to Rutger Hauer, who's called Jim Bolden, who's a sort of not even a survivalist. He just loves animals, and he lives on this island he appears to own, and this where this bald eagle is nesting. And Kathleen Turner is someone who runs a local sort of fish bait and tackle shop with his son, who's got a bit of an affinity with Rutger Hauer, likes his and his sort of survivalist sort of stuff, living off the land. And she clearly really fancies Rutger Hauer, who is the most unfanciable man I've ever seen in this film. He walks in and he's got like a plaster on one eye. He's just got loads of patchwork clothes on. And I thought he was supposed to be really heavily autistic, but he's just really got social anxieties and issues. And she cannot stop lusting after him. It's okay. Brian James turns up with one of his friends who's like a hunter, and when he finds out that they're trying to get the eggs, he just shoots them in the leg with a crossbow he's made. And the whole film then is Powers Booth turning up and sort of befriending Rutger Hauer and trying to seduce Kathleen Turner and win over her son as a sort of a parental figure so we can get into her knickers, as Rutger Hauer's kind of on this island and trying to come out of his shell and be a bit more sort of social. And this goes on for a while. It goes on for a while. And then halfway through the film, I realized this is a really oddly paced film. And what ends up happening is Powers Booth just ends up actually befriending Rutger Hauer and egging him on to get on with Kathleen Turner, and actually not being and giving up on his whole thing about trying to steal this egg and just actually trying to get them together. And so she just seems really nice. So all the characters are flawed, but really pleasant with each other. And I thought, what? What's happening? And yeah, it does its thing and finishes. And then afterwards, I thought that's one of the most bizarre plots I've ever watched. It's just a load of people getting on with some really knockabout comedy in it, and it turns out that they lost a reel of the film and had to make something together from what's left. So Rutger Hauer's whole backstory was lost about how he lost his family and stuff, and it just becomes this really bizarre drama comedy. There's a scene in it that really made me laugh, where Powers Booth turns up on the island and he's just it's at the point where he's trying to get Rutger Hauer to take him to the Eagle's Nest so he can steal it before he decides not to. And he comes out of his tent, he's like, oh, what's that smell? And Rutger Hauer goes, oh, it's me. This is me. And then the scene cuts to something else. You're like, okay. So yeah, it's a bizarre film to watch. And now that I know that they just had to like splice stuff together, it makes a lot more sense watching it because everyone just turns up and gets on.
Okay. Do you think they lost the reel where there's conflict, like they actually comes to a head and then they make up afterwards, and they lost that bit? So they just stay friends.
Almost certainly. Rutger Hauer's character is like sort of comedically awkward. There's a bit where he like puts on like a shirt and he's still pissing sweat through it and it's stuck to him. And then Kathleen Turner turns up with her son and he immediately just says the wrong thing and she says, right, we're going. And the Powers Brother's like, oh, you messed that up there, mate, and just gives him advice. And I thought, this is like watching Coronation Street on a desert island. I don't know what's happening. But yeah, that was funny. But anyway, enough of that because we do have to wrap this up and it's time to talk about the Arkansas, which is the mass Chris. Mm-hmm. So the plan was to get to however many Chris's you can using only one non-Chris actor as a stopgap. So I've got one. Oh my God, I forgot. We've got a guest review. I'll do that next time. I promise I'll do the guest review next time. It's been such a busy day today. So yeah, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 entries. So do you want to have a crack first? See how many? Can one of you keep track? Because I'm not going to be able to keep, as I'm reading it up, keep track of how many Chris's there are in these entries.
Can I just clarify the rules a little bit?
So many people have asked about what are the rules again?
So can you can dip out of the Chris's for one film but come back? Can you do that multiple times throughout the thing? But as long as you come back within one film,
it's a person rather than the film, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can have one non-Chris link
in total.
In the whole.
No, between each one.
Between each one. Okay.
So you could potentially just. This is why we probably should have timed up because this is why it could go on forever. I might as well do mine because mine's nowhere near the longest because I just stopped at some point because I couldn't be bothered to do it anymore. But maybe this will set the tone. Maybe, Okay, let's start. Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth are in the Avengers. Hemsworth is in Star Trek 2009 with Chris Pine and also Zoe Saldana, who is in Amsterdam with Chris Rock, who's in Grown Ups with Adam Sandler, who's in Click with Christopher Walken, who's in Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead with Christopher Lloyd, who's in Addams Family with Angelica Houston, who's in The French Dispatch with Christoph Waltz, who's in Django Unchained with Samuel L. Jackson, who's in Avengers Endgame with Chris Pratt, who's in Thor 3 with Christian Bale, who's in The New World with Christopher Plummer, who's in Star Trek The Undiscovered Country with Christian Slater, who's in True Romance with Chris Penn, and then I got bored and stopped. But
that seemed like 12 to me.
Yeah, I got 12 as well, yeah.
12, yeah.
Can I do mine, which I think blows yours out the water, Rupert?
Absolutely.
So I said Chris O'Donnell is in Batman and Robin with Michael Gough, who's in Batman Returns of Christopher Walken.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Excellent.
I think that was about 25
at least.
I think so too. What's yours, Laszlo?
I've got 19.
Oh, come on. Give it to us, baby.
I'll do it as quickly as possible to save everyone. So Christopher Lambert was in The Sicilian with Terence Stamp, who was in Superman 2. Point. I know. Who was in Superman 2 with Christopher Reeve, who was in Street Smart with Morgan Freeman, who was in The Dark Knight with Christian Bale, and Tom Hardy, who was in This Means War with Chris Pine, who was in Star Trek Into Darkness with Benedict Cumberbatch, who was in Avengers of Infinity War with Chris Pratt and Chris Evans, who was in Knives Out with Christopher Plummer, and Daniel Craig, who was in Spectre with Christoph Waltz, who was in The Green Hornet with Seth Rogen, who was in Anchorman with Christina Applegate, and Paul Rudd, who was in Avengers Endgame with Chris Hemsworth, who was in Thor with Rene Russo, who was in Lethal Weapon 4 with Chris Rock, and Mel Gibson, who was in Payback with Chris Christopherson. I really wanted to end on Chris Christopherson, but anyway, it carried on.
Yeah.
And James Coburn, who was in Young Guns 2 with Christian Slater, who was in True Romance with Christopher Walken, who was in The Deer Hunter with Robert De Niro, who was in Jackie Brown with Chris Tucker, and Samuel L. Jackson, who was in Star Wars with Christopher Lee, who was in Sleepy Hollow with Christina Ricci, who was in The Addams Family with Christopher Lloyd, who was in Back to the Future with Crispin Glover. And that's the end.
Now, did you just stop, or did you genuinely run out?
I kind of ran out. I had 3 more I wanted to get in there, but I couldn't be bothered to unpick it to fit them in. I wanted to get Christina Hendricks, Chris Klein, and Christopher Biggins in there. But
this is actually quite fun because I purposely haven't looked at the amount of entries of Chris's from like the listeners. So I'm at you got 19. Go see Rupert really didn't try and just gave up like she's a pussy. And then you did really, really well. Because you don't go around wearing like skirts and like on a bell with tassels ringing a pink bike bell like the Arnie stuntman in Terminator 2. So, okay, so that's 19. So can one of you or both of you may as well keep tabs on this. This is from Dave Chod. So he said Chris O'Dowd was in Thor: The Dark World with Christopher Eccleston, who was also in Thor: The Dark World with Chris Hemsworth, who was in Thor: Love and Thunder with Chris Pratt, who was in Avengers Endgame with Chris Evans, who was in Knives Out with Christopher Plummer, who was in The Prophecy with Christopher Walken, who was in Sleepy Hollow with Christopher Lee. He says 8 direct Chris's is the best I can do.
Okay.
That's pretty good. I forgot about Christopher Eccleston. I had him right in the middle of all that. Could have got 20.
Right there.
Do you know what I called him once on Twitter? Christopher Eccles Cakes. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
I had him, mate. I had him.
Yeah.
And then I deleted my profile so he didn't know it was me. So, pardon me. This is not my cousin John. So get your fingers ready. Also, the first line of my Twin Tinder profile. Chris O'Dowd was in Thor: The Dark World with Chris Hemsworth. It was in Avengers: Age of Ultron with Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was in Kick-Ass with Christopher Mintz-Plasse, who was in Superbad with Michael Cera, who was in Scott Pilgrim with Chris Evans, who was in Knives Out with Daniel Craig, who was in Spectre with Christoph Waltz, who was in Django Unchained with Leonardo DiCaprio, who was in Catch Me If You Can with Christopher Walken, who was in Doom 2 with Josh Brolin, who was in Avengers Endgame with Chris Pratt, who was in Thor: Love and Thunder with Natalie Portman, who was in Attack of the Clones with Christopher Lee, who was in Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers with Carl Urban, who was in Star Trek with Chris Pine, who was in This Week's War with Tom Hardy, who was in Dark Knight Rises with Christian Bale, who was in Batman Begins with Morgan Freeman, who was in Street Smart, Thank You Laszlo with Christopher Reeve. So how many is that?
That was 11, I think.
Oh, the audience need to really pull their kegs up, don't they? So this is the last one. This is from Max Hilarity. This looks like a long one, so I'm going to take a deep breath for this. So have you got your fingers ready, both? So it is. Christopher Biggins is in the Rocky Horror Picture Show with Susan Sarandon and Meatloaf, who's in Fight Club with Jared Leto, who's in American Psycho with Christian Bale, Bale's in Batman films with Morgan Freeman, who's in Unforgiven with Gene Hackman, who's in Superman with Christopher Reeve, also in Fight Club as Brad Pitt, is in True Romance with Christian Slater.
Wait.
Oh, yeah?
There was at least 2 linking people there.
Oh, really?
It just feel like there's a lot of bit
There was a
longer
Morgan Freeman went to someone who wasn't a Christopher.
Christopher Biggins is in the Rocky Horror Picture with Susan Sarandon and Meatloaf, who's in Fight Club with Jared Leto. Oh, I see, yes. He stumbled at the first block.
Well, let's just go with it.
No. Christopher Biggins is in the Rocky
He's not going to
Picture
beat 19 anyway. Let's give him his chance.
Okay, let's go through this then. Christopher Biggins is in the Rocky Horror Picture Show with Susan Sarandon and Meatloaf, who's in Fight Club with Jared Leto, who's in American Psycho with Christian Bale, Bale's in Batman films with Morgan Freeman, who's in Unforgiven with Gene Hackman, who's in Superman with Christopher Reeve, also in Fight Club with Brad Pitt, who's in True Romance with Wait for It, Christian Slater, Christopher Walken, and Chris Penn. Boom. Pitt links us to Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Basterds. Bale also shares a screen in Batman with Gary Oldman, and he takes us to Chris Tucker in Fifth Element. Walker links us to Christina Ricci in Sleepy Hollow. Another Pitt link is with Clooney and Ocean's 11 and Clooney connects us to Chris O'Donnell and Batman Forever. I think it could be the other shit one. Pitt also takes us via 12 Years a Slave to Cumberbatch, who connects us to the Avengers, who takes us to Chris Evans, not that one, who's in Knives Out with Christopher Plummer. He's also in all the Avengers, Guff with two other Chris's, Hemsworth and Pratt, who also Paul Rudd with him, and he's a role model with Sean William Scott, who's stiffer in American Pie with Chris Klein. Paul Rudd is also in Anchorman with Christina Applegate, also in the Avengers Behemoth is Zoe Saldana, who's in Star Trek with Chris Pine. Saldana's also in the Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds, who takes us to Chris Christopherson in Blade Trinity.
Well, there are a lot there.
Yeah.
But it was a cheat. But yes,
18?
it was impressive. Yes.
Is it 18? So you're the winner then, Lazo?
Yeah, just about.
It was 18.
Fucking want to be. I've spent enough time thinking about this.
Thinking about Chris. So before we put our fingers in our pockets, rest our thumbs on our lapels, we need to talk about the next, our films of the week, actually. For me, boom, Stranger by Night. What about it? What are you going to do about it?
Weapons.
Nice.
I'm going to go with Eddington, although Send Help is a close second.
Very good.
And what is the arc and stuff for next time? I suggested Josh Brolin because he was in 2 films we talked about today. So I'll let one of you two choose the other actor.
Timothy Dalton?
I was going to, if we're going female, I'd say Rachel McAdams.
Okay. Ooh.
But Dalton to Brolin could be fun.
Where did Timothy Dalton come from?
Flash
Gordon. Flash Gordon.
Of course, yeah. All I could think about was Hot Fuzz and Bond. So Josh Brolin to Timothy Dalton, I do like that. And
we could go Josh Brolin to Brian Blessed. Might be more fun.
God, what should we do that then? Brian Blessed, is it?
Yeah, Blessed to Brolin.
I hope from B to B. I hope that someone's going to get because he did a voice of Grandpa Rabbit in Peppa Pig.
He did.
So he's also the best thing about that show. We'll end with Max Celerity's joke. We love you all, listeners, and we'll be back probably in a week or two to do some catch-up stuff. We're back on the bus now, but love to all. I found out...
and good luck.
My darlings. I found out that someone beat my record of watching Jaws 217 times in a single year. I'm going to need a bigger boast.